When we look at set and rep schemes, often, someone will say do 3x3 at 90%. And I'm like, where have you got that 90% from? Or, 4x8 at 70%. Great. These are all, strength ranges and hypertrophy ranges, but where's the system around this? So I was actually on the train. I was in Europe somewhere. I think I was in Poland, and, I spent, 4 hours locked in, and I was just putting together this set and rep scheme. And basically what I did was I collated all this data of set and rep schemes, and I ended up making up this huge table. And it was, all the progressions for sets of 1, sets of 2, sets of 3, sets of 4, sets of 5, working all the way down, I think, to 12s or 15s. Then within that, week by week progressions of how you would phase that through a structured program. Now, I think something with training that we also need to really just take into consideration is how hard an effort should be. Because it comes back to just because you can, it doesn't mean you should. Now, let's put a practical example around this. For me, with a 5x5, I will never go above 80% for someone. 80% is the threshold that they should be working at for 5x5. It works into my ecosystem. If you want more information, send me a message and I'll get back to you. But it works into my system where I know that that's the upper limit. And I work back progressively over, a 4 to 6 week training block, knowing that that is the end point, right? That's really, really cool because I know that I can control that variable. I know that the person that I'm working with isn't going too high into the threshold where it's actually putting them at risk of injury, but I also know that it's high enough that it's stimulating. Now, if this works for someone that has more identified sort of 1RMs or numbers that they know that they can hit that are heavy, and then you're simply working off those percentages. But for me, it's one of those things that I could probably get someone on the right day with the right effort, with the right hype. I could probably get someone to do, say, 5x5 at 85%, or maybe even pushing the boundary up to 90%. But, at some point during that session, they're going to get really, really fatigued, and there is going to be a massive point of diminishing returns. That might be 2 sets in or 3 sets in. And, the likelihood is that if they're well-trained, they can probably grind through another couple of sets. But, the technique's going to drop down. They're going to potentially get kicked out of position or deform their shape in order to get these sets and rep done. And you start to question it. You start to go what was that even for?